Planning to buy a limousine, what brands come to your mind? And now the price. How much is a car the size of, let's say, BMW 7 Series? You're right, a house and a kidney. And now tell me, what's that thing you see behind me? If at first glance you don't recognize these 5 meters of a car, that's probably because it looks a bit like everything you know. From the side, it's like 2 generations of BMW 7 Series bolted together. From the front, it's a bit of an Aston Martin, but the LEDs resemble one of the Audis. And from the back, yep, from the back it's definitely a Hyundai. It says so on the badge, but in some markets this car is completely badged as Genesis. Basically, Hyundai gives you a BMW 7 Series package for the price of a BMW 3 Series. No, this car doesn't cost just 30,000 euros, but give a 335i xDrive similar options and you're up in the 60-70 grand region. Of course, one may argue that a 328i xDrive offers better performance and is cheaper, but in case of a limousine you want prestige, and prestige comes with at least 6 cylinders. Anyway, Hyundai doesn't have a small turbo to put inside like Mercedes does with its hybrid S Class. Confused? Well, hold on tight, because things are going to get even more complicated. Don't think for a moment that you can get a BMW 5 Series or a Mercedes E Class on the cheap and have the same spec as in the Genesis. This car has a 3-meter wheelbase, so theoretically it plays in the same league as the big guys, and it even has a movable part of the couch and the front seat, so this is supposed to be a CEO wagon. Yes, let's move this forward, and now I can lean back and relax a bit. Like a proper luxury car, also Genesis has soft door closing system, but seal fitting does leave something to be desired. The boot is just shy of 500 liters, which is below the average in this segment and even below what smaller premium cars offer, but there is a space saver under the boot floor. In the front, the seats are comfortable, the dashboard is clearly laid out, there are cup holders, cubbies, but there is one small problem. If you've seen the interior of a Hyundai i30, you'll probably recognize most of the switchgear. Just like in Volkswagen Group cars, many brands share many elements. Of course, luxury car manufacturers claim it is unlikely that a person in the market for a limousine has seen the interior of a mass segment car. However, not everyone was born wealthy, and I think Hyundai Genesis may be chosen by people who succeeded in business enough so they can finally afford something better, but they still know what the cheap stuff looks like. Although SatNav also looks like from a cheaper model, speech recognition works rather well. Unfortunately, setting a destination requires many confirmations. Shame, because the system is otherwise rather responsive. Hyundai Genesis is very quiet, and that's a good thing. When driving normally, you can barely hear the engine. However, on a bumpy road, the suspension is on the verge of tolerable, which is irritating because the Genesis rides like a couch. It's probably the softest car in the segment, better for dignified parading than driving fast. And dignified parading is highly recommended because Hyundai doesn't kid when it claims 16 liters per 100 kilometers in the urban cycle and around 12 in the combined cycle. Eco mode doesn't help. With this sort of engine, I'd appreciate a stop and start system or some hybrid solution. For the first few days behind the wheel, I couldn't get used to maneuvering this car, which is strange because I've driven bigger. Finally, I narrowed the problem down to the huge A-pillars and the wing mirrors, which are almost integrated. And to make things worse, they tilt down on reversing. Okay, so I've seen this in other cars. The passenger mirror sometimes tilts so that I can see the curb, and it theoretically makes parking easier. Not for everyone, but theoretically it does make it easier. Here, both mirrors tilt down, and the thing is, I couldn't find the settings to switch it off. So maneuvering, well, parking is a bit of a challenge. Of course, I can use automatic parking. At the press of a button, I have parallel or reverse parking, and I have to rely on the 360-degree camera. By the way, Hyundai is very restrictive when it comes to access to the settings on the go. Most settings are accessible only when the gear shift is in parking position. Let's go back to driving. The 3.8-liter V6 produces 315 horsepower and takes Genesis from 0 to 100 km per hour in just below 7 seconds. And it sounds like a typical V6. Yes, it does. Very, very long shifts. I have to slow down because this car in one gear can do, well, the speed difference is probably twice, yeah? The speed doubles in one gear. So anyway, and we're talking motorway speeds. Anyway, in sports mode, yes, there's a button to switch between sport, eco, and normal here. In sports mode, the 8-speed, yes, an 8-speed automatic, it works very fast, and the traction is additionally aided by an H-Track or HTRAC all-wheel drive system. I feel it working mainly when I'm about to take off right from a junction. And by the way, the steering, it doesn't go back to the center position as fast as I would like, which is kind of annoying in a big car like this. Hyundai equipped the Genesis with many safety systems, including autonomous braking, lane assist, or cross-traffic warning during reversing. That's very handy. I mean, visibility in the back is so-so. And all this comes as standard. So the price you're paying, it's just everything. It's fully loaded. For 65,000 euros, you will not buy a similarly spec'd BMW 5 Series or a Mercedes E Class, maybe an Infiniti Q70 or a Lexus GS, but all these are much smaller cars. So, what decides about prestige of a limousine? Is it size, performance, brand? Let me know in the comments below whether you think it's better to buy one 7 Series or two Genesis, whatever the plural of Genesis is. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. New episodes every Friday. Rate and share. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.